Greetings. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to our Blust Avenue Teaching Garden. And I hope everyone had a chance to sign in and grab the program for today. We are very excited about the accomplishments over the past 5 months. And that backup battery will be helpful, I'm sure. Tony, remember what they said about when it's flashing red? Okay, so as we will not delay much longer, you note we have some very special folks in the house to say a few words, and would like to start off with Michael Howard, the NECIC Executive Director, and not only does he have a green shirt, but he also gave this project the green light. And you can say we're here thanks to his support.
Well, we'll do the best that we can. I'm probably cutting in and out. We'll do the best that we can. But thank you all for coming today. What you see in front of you belongs to all of you. It belongs to all of us. You know, this is a culmination of a lot of hard work, a lot of vision, a lot of working together, a lot of collaboration, and that's what this community is about. You know, we at NECIC we're just thrilled to have a facility like this where we can grow things, where we can have kids come out today to do some things. We can plant, we can teach, we can grow even in the colder months. There's been so many people that have really helped us, you know, going all the way back to back on May 7th, we had the guard out here and the kids were doing so much, building these raised beds. It's just been a labor of love, but what you see here today is a confirmation of what we can do to build our community, what we can do to repurpose, you know, some of those blighted areas. You know, everything that we do here is a part and reaches a part of our community economic development plan. You know, education, reusing community spaces, economic development, you know, all of the programs that we run on NECIC, they're all on example here today. So I want to thank you all for coming. I thank the community. We couldn't have done it without the help of the city, the land bank, the Richland Foundation. I know I'm going to forget somebody, but those guys were such big players and played such a big role in making sure that we were able to work through any obstacle to get to the point where we are today. And Carol Price, what you've done to help us get things going here has just been absolutely phenomenal. She continues to help. Tons of volunteers. I can go on and on. As you can obviously tell, I'm very excited about what we have here today. So I'm going to hand the mic over to the mayor so I can stop talking and get over here and shake some hands and dance a little bit.
Thank you, Colonel. Like the Colonel said, this is a vision that I know that when we created the Richland County Land Bank would come true, where we would be able to take foreclose on houses, tear them down, and repurpose them. And this is the cultivating, or this is the actual thing that we have done. Not with just us, but NECIC did. NECIC spent a lot of time working with everybody, putting this in place, financing this, and making sure that everything worked. But this is what we need to continue to do. And we do have plans and ideas to continue to do this all over. So there is plans to take vacant properties and make something of them. There's another one that we have done. It's over on Main Street, where there's a church that has taken this property that we tore down, and they have made a little park in there. But this is the ultimate, because this allows us to train, to work with people, healthy, and something that we continue to work together with NECIC, the community, and everybody works. I appreciate the opportunity to come out here today because this was a vision, and that this vision finally came true. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mayor, and for the support of all the departments in the city, with not only, of course, the administration, but I have to shout out to the water department, the codes and permits, and many in the city. Of course, our beautiful leaf compost, if you recognize that. Everyone has helped us navigate through the processes that we need, and much appreciation. Next, I'd like to add in, thank you so much, Representative Mark Romanchuk, for joining us. And if you like to talk loud, I'll change your battery. While we're sitting. That does any good. I appreciate you being here so much. Thank you.
Well, on behalf of the Ohio House, I want to thank everybody and NECIC for the great work they do in the community and the great work they've done here on this project. I want to thank the mayor, the Land Bank, and Bart Hamilton. I saw you here earlier today. The two of those individuals came down to Columbus and lobbied me for more money, which we were able to get a little bit more money. It was through the Attorney General's office, so he was gracious enough to give us a little bit more money. So thank you for the great work you've done on this project and many others. And for all those people, the guard and everybody else, the kids that have had a hand in this, thank you very much for your good work. So I do have a commendation here from the Ohio House. I have a commendation here from the Ohio House, which I will not read, but I can assure you it says some very, very nice things. So again, on behalf of the Ohio House, congratulations to NECIC, and we look forward to seeing a few more of these projects around town. Thank you so much for your good work.
Thank you, Representative Romanchuk. All right, beautiful. Super proud of our supporters, and you might notice a few, I get a couple words in between, around the house. Hopefully you recognize some of the people on the program are some of the very folks here today that helped us put this in, but I want to shout out to the Air National Guard 179th Air Wing. Not only did they help get this garden started, but they helped at least 5 community gardens this year and have been doing so for 5 years in a row. And as you ever see the Guard work together, you might wonder, why didn't you join? Because their teamwork is fabulous, and I know I think that a lot. So thank you for being here. And some of our youngsters in the house from Culliver Reading Center is a partnership with the Teaching Garden. It's very convenient that you go to school and go to after school so close to us. Welcome, and thank you for your help in putting that bed over there into production this summer. So now we turn to some of the support that, as you know, this stuff doesn't happen for free, and we have really fabulous supporters that recognize, yes, it's a garden, but it means a lot of different things. And so we absolutely could not be here without the support of our friends at the Richland County Foundation, and particularly many investments in the infrastructure here through the Fran and Warren Rupp Fund. And speaking on behalf of the foundation, thank you so much for coming. Brady Groves, president of the Richland County Foundation.
Oh, thanks for the fresh battery. I get to run down, Gene. Come here a minute. We're thanking a lot of people here today, and this is a beautiful spot. If you consider the disinvestment that was going on in this area, and the vision NECIC had, in collaborating with the City of Mansfield and Bart at the Land Bank, and this is a wonderful thing on a lot of different levels. If you take what has happened here with the Teaching Garden and the things that it leads to, and teaching young people agricultural skills, but teaching the neighborhood a skill and a possible opportunity for startup business with the incubator, and taking it from the incubator to the farmers market in the summer. This is an incredible opportunity. We're very grateful to be part of this through the Fran and Warren Rupp Fund at the Richland County Foundation. But more importantly, this just didn't happen overnight. I think the North End, NECIC, is very fortunate to have its own master gardener. Now this started back in what, 2008. This vision started with, I believe, some community gardens down on Walnut Street. And I see Deanna. Deanna's over here, and she was a big part of that. And you know what? I'll admit, when they came up and said, we're going to put gardens on Walnut Street. And I said, oh, come on, let's sit down, let's talk some more. And you know what? And to have the talent you have with Jean, I mean, she rivals any gardener in town. To have that resource, not only on the north end for what we've done here, but in Mansfield in general, to promote the agricultural community, I think it's a real asset. And I think we ought to thank you, Jean, because this is a lot of what you've done with Deanna's vision, then continued by Michael. So thank you for everything you've done. So I'm going to turn it back to you then.
And many hands make light work, as they say. You can't ever do it alone. So, speaking of, for quite a while, before we were able to grow literally and get VISTA members and long-term volunteers and part-time people and now a full-time person, I had a person, we called each other step workers. And because we had a lot of common goals, and we've worked closely together and supported each other for several years, a good 5 years now. And so besides being in support through funding from the Creating Healthy Communities project, Carol Price has been an avid help you get those signs ready, beautiful signs over there paid for. She's like, come on, Jean, like, pick a picture. Let's get these over here. You know, she's helping me definitely, and all of us. So please, Carol Price, come forward and say a few words on behalf of the Creating Healthy Communities project from Richland Public Health and through the Ohio Health.
Thank you so much. And it is, I don't know, a magical day, I think, to be here and be standing next to Jean and see this garden completed or started, well underway, and so many people and supporters and interested neighbors and children here, because knowing NECIC's heart and mission, it's about community and building community spaces and places, and it's just wonderful to be here as part of that. I also just think it's a great privilege to stand here and help launch this garden for all its purposes and uses here going forward in the future. The Creating Healthy Communities grant that I work with is from Richland Public Health and sponsored through the Ohio Department of Health. And we have been very blessed to see funding and additional funding and extra project funding come our way, flowing through the health department to support this project. And we do this because we believe it's going to make a difference in health. Richland County, like many communities across the nation, has very high rates of obesity and chronic disease, diabetes, heart disease, stroke, and many cancers. And they have at their root our lifestyles and our healthy eating and our access to choices that will let us to live healthy lifestyles. Eating healthy, consuming more fruits and vegetables is one of my missions through my Creating Healthy Community grants and through work with our partners. We know that making healthy lifestyle choices is a personal responsibility, but we also know that it's dependent on your environment. And it's very challenging to make healthy choices if you don't have access to healthy foods, if you can't afford them, if they're not easy to get a hold of. And some places within our entire county, we don't live in areas where healthy, fresh foods are readily available. So supporting this project is a natural for supporting our community health. I also want to make note that besides helping children learn to grow and eat vegetables, taking fresh foods to markets or to our local stores and restaurants, this project, I think, has that capacity to build community. And I think walking in here, it's a space that inspires and that provides hope to the community. So I thank you for being a part of this. It's always a pleasure to support what Jean's doing and to invest in this wonderful project.
And we're still step workers, even though we both have a little more team with us. There's some really fabulous volunteers in this house, and I would like to turn the mic over next to Bill Baker, who not only is an outstanding community volunteer and an NECIC board member volunteering in that capacity, but he saw some of the challenges. Our tree line right here used to look like that tree line over there, only worse. There were much bigger trees. You couldn't see through it. We forgot there was a parking lot right there. After he got done, we're like, hey, maybe let's put a gate there and the church will let us. Anyone here from St. Mark's today? Shout out to the church for opening that parking lot to us. So Bill saw the possibilities. He says, we don't have to live with that, and we'd like to, he will be leading a part of the tour and telling you a little more in depth of what it took to get that down. But Bill Baker, thank you so much for putting in 100 hours of volunteer on this garden alone, including some crisis management today. We won't talk about.
Can everyone hear me okay? I've got a fairly loud voice and I'm very animated. So we'll save some battery life there. Thanks for that wonderful introduction. Thanks so much to everyone being here and participating in the ribbon cutting today. And I want to start by telling you about my best friend, Larry Waddell, who convinced me at age 13. I met him in 7th grade and we were just kids. And Larry convinced me and Vic and Gary and Tim to hold a muscular dystrophy carnival on our street. We were 13 years old, and now for 41 years, I've been involved in community activities and building the social justice movement so that we're all treated equally. We all have equal opportunity to grow and dream and pursue our goals. Larry and I were very competitive, very much alike. We were very bright. He was born in March, I was born in April. You know, I challenged him, I'm going to get my driver's license before you, and he beat me. He was driving to my house before I was driving to his. He joined the Air Force. I joined the Navy. Larry was very bright. He actually served under the president for Air Force One. He would travel with the president and set up the telecommunications for him, wherever the president would be speaking. Unfortunately, we lost Larry in 2001 to an accidental overdose. So that also drives my passion in the North End. I live on McPherson Street within walking distance of here to make sure that we have healthy options, that we have good things that we can be involved in. So don't forget about Larry. And you're probably wondering why I told you that story. So as Gene said, I came on site here about March, saw some piles of wood and some piles of dirt. There weren't any gardens or any plants yet, but right away I fell in love with the vision of taking vacant properties and creating something that the community could connect to and be a part of. One of our first projects was with the Air National Guard. We came in, we found out that there were lots of rocks in the soil and had all these challenges for creating a few of the beds. And at that time, the area where most of all of you are standing, you couldn't have stood there. Piles of debris and brush and garbage and leftovers from the blighted properties. Yes, the homes were removed, but there were 3 old fences, and some of those fences were grown right into the middle of trees that were 2 feet around. So, as Gene said, and I mentioned to someone earlier, I kind of like to work behind the scenes and do the dirty work, and I wanted to do that cleanup. I have some hand tools and cutting torches and shovels, and to take down the block wall and the trees that were not worth saving. We did save the large trees. We didn't get rid of all of them. But it was a daunting task, and I wasn't sure how I was going to find the time and the energy to do it as a volunteer. So the very first day that I was on site here working on my own, and we had the Air National Guard project, we had a Vista cleanup that I helped with a little bit. Vicki was wonderful in arranging that. But we were trying to prepare for this fence to be installed. And it was so blighted that we actually thought we would just move the fence in 5 feet and leave that blighted area for another time. So what I did is I brought my hand tools and the chainsaw, and I came and I cut down some branches on a box elder, and I was preparing to pick up those branches and throw them in the huge pile that was here, and I saw this tag stuck to the branches. And on this tag was a balloon that was deflated, and it said, "If found, please call or text," with a number that says, "Please include your name on the tag and where it was found." So I texted, I took a picture of it on the branch, and I sent that picture to the number, and the person sent me a message back and said, "Thank you." I said, "This was found at the Teaching Garden on Blue Street." And I didn't think a thing of it. I took the tag and I tossed it in my car, and I thought Jean might like to have that as a memento. So when I got back to the office and I went to hand it to Jean, I thought I saw my friend's name on the back of the card. And I was awestruck, and I stood there dumbfounded. I said, Jean, could I see that back? And she handed it to me, and it says, in memory of Larry Waddell, Madison Comprehensive High School, class of 78. So I texted the number back, and it was my classmate Stephanie, and she said, yeah, we had our class reunion last fall out near Lucas, and we released a balloon for every one of the 40-some classmates that had passed since our graduation in 1979. The reason I tell everyone that story and why they wanted me to speak is to just show you concrete proof that we're all connected in this adventure together. That coming here, you know, there's a spiritual connection and a physical connection being on site and working on these projects. We don't always get the evidence of that. But the whole time I was here, for that 100 hours of sweaty labor and meeting the neighbors and having them come and assist me, and the staff and other volunteers, we had a chipping day and just amazing transformation. I knew that Larry's spirit was here and that it'll actually always be here throughout this project. And I really just want to say that our connection as a community stems from those kinds of stories and that type of an event. So I'm really happy to see everyone here, and I hope you just keep coming back and involving yourself in the garden. Thank you.
We are all connected, are we not? So before we get to the ribbon cutting, I just wanted to run down the rest of the time. And our next venture after we cut the ribbon will be to do some garden tours. And each of us, 4 of us, are taking a station. And we've heard a little bit about Bill, and he'll be stationed over here by the tent and talk about how we're recycling, reusing the materials sustainably. But I think we need to really give a super shout out to Vicki Eichhoff. Where'd she go? Vicki Eichhoff, when you open up this inside, this is possible because of Vicki's tireless efforts. As a VISTA volunteer, she was asked to put in 37 hours a week, and instead we could hardly chase her home after 50, 60 hours a week. And everything from, let's make sure we have a picture of the before, to, hey, let's bring the Air National Guard, to, how about those school kids? Let's bring them in too. All the way to the design of the raised beds and the dealing with the codes and permits. Oh, we learned so much. Please, Vicki, if you would come forward, and she's going to be on a tour. She will be stationed right here telling you some of the inspiring story of how we got to be here. But we couldn't be here without Vicki Eichhoff volunteering thousands of hours for this project. And she's shy and doesn't like to have her picture taken, but you will find her picture on the program if you look really, really close. So again, Vicki, and many of you know, Vicki volunteers for at least a half a dozen, probably way understating that, groups around the state. The community, I should say. So Vicki will be stationed over here for the garden tour. You're welcome. We'll each be talking about 5 or 10 minutes. Our newest addition to the NECIC team, Candace Harrell, who is here now to manage this garden, to teach here, to make sure it looks good. Boy, did we went something. This is how Candace's first 2 weeks went. Candace, we're having an open house in 9 days. Here's a list of some volunteers, and oh, we got a lot of work to do. Go! Oh, by the way, we're going to be gone 3 days too. So yeah, she's ready for a break already. Thank you for joining us. Candace Harrell will be stationed inside the hoop house. If you'd like to know, what do you do in there? How do you grow in there? What can we do? And then I myself will be right over here by the new garden beds. I want to talk to you about soil and what we're getting into when you have a lot where the house was demolished. So final shout out, I think, to our Richland County Land Bank, and Bart Hamilton here, our Richland County treasurer, who not only was fabulous in spearheading us having a land bank, but also in making sure that the community is able to use the lots productively, whether you're the house next door and you just want to have a bigger property, or whether you have a tremendous stream. A great big shout out. This whole half of the garden, which this spot right here, we just owned in June. Okay, so that's why everything is on this side. Through the land bank, and we thank you so much in acquiring our property. Thank you, Bart Hamilton. So if I want to have my folks, and please Bart, Vicky, and all of our speakers, if we could get you on this side of the ribbon, and we have some giant scissors on this side. Come through right over there, lead the way. I'm going to duck under, and of course Michael and Candace, come on over. Bill. By the way, I know folks have been coming in, please do sign in and make sure you get the program. We want to shout out again to Tony Chinney for making us look good and putting this program so nicely together. Come on up. And we have, thanks to the chamber.
I didn't look at the show. We're working to get a hand on it. Get a hand on the handle. How about that?
Got it. Ready? That's perfect.
Ready? On three. 1, 2, 3.
Cut.
It's officially a garden. Thank you. And of course, if you haven't noticed, we have refreshments inside the hoop house. Right in there, you'll find some local apple cider and some sweets and vegetables. And if you're not already getting our contact through email or Facebook, or if you would just like to get more involved, please fill out one of my little I'd like to get more involved sheets and throw that in the bucket too. So thank you. Please wander around. After our garden tour, we will do a final close out the night with a little session on growing garlic. So please stay for that.
Garlic, yeah.